Hotels are supposed to be places of rest. A warm bed, a quiet night, and a safe roof over your head. But in Michigan, not every hotel welcomes its guests with peace. Some halls whisper with voices that shouldn't be there. Doors slam when no one's inside. Footsteps follow you down empty corridors. Travelers who check in for a night sometimes check out with stories they can never explain. From historic inns where the past refuses to leave to grand hotels where guests have seen more than they bargained for, these walls hold more than memories. Tonight, we're unlocking the doors to Michigan's 15 most haunted hotels. If you're brave enough, step inside. Haunted Hotel Number 1, the Landmark Inn Marquette. Perched high above Lake Superior, the Landmark Inn isn't just one of the most beautiful hotels in Michigan. It's one of the most haunted. The building has stood since the 1930s, hosting famous figures and travelers passing through Marquette. But while the decor has changed, some guests never left. The most famous story is tied to Room 502, known to locals as the Lilac Room. Legend says a young woman waited there in the 1930s for her lover, a sailor, to return from Lake Superior. He never came back. Consumed by grief, she is said to have taken her own life in the room. To this day, guests and staff report seeing her figure, dressed in sorrow, standing near the window and gazing out over the harbor. Others describe the overwhelming scent of lilacs filling the air, even when no flowers are present. Housekeepers have walked in to find the bed sheets pulled back as though someone were preparing to lie down, yet the room had been locked and unoccupied. Visitors wake in the night to see a shadowy woman pacing the floor, whispering softly to herself. Her sadness seems to linger, thick and heavy, in every corner. The hotel embraces its haunted history, but guests who have stayed in the Lilac Room often leave with more than a story. Some speak of dreams that feel too real, hearing knocks on the door when no one is there, and a sensation of being watched. The Landmark Inn promises luxury, but some say it also delivers a chilling reminder of love lost and grief that refuses to fade. Number 2, Mission Point Resort, Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island is known for its charm, horse-drawn carriages, and timeless beauty, but tucked within that beauty lies a chilling story. Mission Point Resort, a favorite for families and tourists, carries a haunting that has become one of Michigan's most talked about ghost stories. In the 1960s, a young college student named Harvey was staying on the island. He fell deeply in love, but when his relationship ended, heartbreak drove him into despair. One cold night, Harvey walked out to a field near the resort and ended his life with a gunshot. His body wasn't found immediately. By the time it was, his story had already become a dark part of Mackinac's lore. Guests and employees say Harvey's spirit never left. His presence is most often reported near the East Bluff, where people hear sobbing carried on the wind, or footsteps trailing them when no one is there. Inside the resort, staff members describe lights flickering, televisions turning on by themselves, and objects shifting in empty rooms. Some even claim to have seen a shadowy figure of a man moving through the halls, especially at night when the building quiets down. Perhaps the most unsettling accounts come from those who feel sudden waves of sadness or dread sweep over them without warning. It's as though Harvey's heartbreak still lingers, pressing down on anyone who wanders too close to where his story ended. Mission Point Resort is breathtaking in the daylight, filled with laughter and relaxation. But at night, when the island grows still, the air seems heavy with the memory of Harvey's last moments. For some, it is a reminder that not every guest comes to Mackinac for a vacation and not every spirit checks out. Number 3, Grand Hotel Mackinac Island. The Grand Hotel is one of the crown jewels of Michigan, known for its massive porch, stunning architecture, and history dating back to the 1880s. But behind the elegance of its long corridors and grand staircases are stories that have unsettled guests for decades. The hotel's hallways seem to carry their own life. Visitors walking late at night often report the sound of footsteps echoing behind them. Yet when they turn, no one is there. Others claim to see quick flashes of shadowy figures slipping across the long, dimly lit corridors, sometimes disappearing right into the walls. Some say the spirits belong to workers and guests from the hotel's earliest days, when Mackinac Island was just beginning to draw wealthy vacationers. Staff members who work overnight shifts tell of doors opening and closing on their own, furniture moving slightly out of place, and the faint scent of cigar smoke drifting through empty rooms. The ballroom is especially notorious. Musicians who pack up their instruments late at night have said they hear faint strains of music as if a ghostly orchestra is still playing to an invisible crowd. Guests walking by at odd hours have reported seeing the outline of couples waltzing under the chandeliers, their forms fading as soon as they're noticed. The Grand Hotel is breathtaking during the day, buzzing with activity and tourists. But once darkness falls and the guests retreat to their rooms, the halls grow long and unnervingly quiet. That's when the legends say the past begins to stir, and those who walk alone may find they're not as alone as they think. Number 4. Terrace Inn, Petoskey. The Terrace Inn in Petoskey is one of those places where history lingers in every corner. Built in 1911, it was meant to be a cozy retreat for summer visitors to northern Michigan. Over a century later, it still stands tall, offering guests charm and old-world atmosphere. But some visitors leave with stories that go far beyond a peaceful getaway. Guests often speak of apparitions drifting through the hallways. Many describe figures in early 1900s clothing, as if former visitors have never checked out. One of the most common sightings is a woman in a long dress gliding silently through the inn's upper floors. She never speaks, never acknowledges anyone, but her presence is undeniable. Staff say she appears most often on quiet nights when the inn is less crowded. Then there is the piano. Several guests have reported hearing faint piano music drifting through the inn long after midnight. The problem is there is no one playing. The sound is soft at first, like a tune carried from another room, but it grows clearer until it feels as if someone is seated right there, performing in the dark. When staff go to investigate, they always find the piano untouched. Former employees admit the Terrace Inn has a way of unsettling people who stay alone. Cold spots appear in otherwise warm hallways. Lights flicker in rooms that were just serviced. Some guests claim their belongings have been moved, as if unseen hands were rifling through their luggage. Others describe the feeling of being watched, even when the hallway outside their door is empty. The dining room is another hotspot. Visitors have seen chairs shift slightly on their own, as if unseen guests were still pulling up to the table. One late-night worker swears he heard laughter echoing faintly in the room long after everyone had gone to bed. The sound was light-hearted, almost like a dinner party from another era, but when he stepped inside, the room was silent. The Terrace Inn is known for its beauty, its vintage charm, and its welcoming spirit. But those who stay overnight often say the walls remember the past, and the guests who came through long ago are in no hurry to leave. If you walk the halls after dark, you might hear footsteps behind you, the sweep of a dress against the floor, or a piano playing softly for an audience that no longer exists. Number 5. National House Inn, Marshall. The National House Inn in Marshall holds a unique title. It is Michigan's oldest operating inn, first opening its doors in 1835. Built to serve weary travelers along the old stagecoach route, it has survived nearly 2 centuries of history. But some say it also carries with it the souls of those who passed through long ago. Guests who stay here do not just sleep in a historic building, they step into a place where the past still breathes, and sometimes it reveals itself. Over the years, countless reports have centered on the appearance of ghostly women within its walls. One of the most enduring stories tells of a woman in a long flowing gown who appears at the top of the staircase. Guests who have seen her describe her as graceful, almost elegant, but her expression is always somber. She vanishes if approached, fading back into the shadows as though she were never there at all. Another common tale comes from the upstairs hallways, where visitors claim to hear the faint rustle of skirts brushing along the floorboards. Some wake in the middle of the night to soft footsteps pacing back and forth outside their rooms, only to open the door and find the hall completely empty. A few unlucky guests say they have felt the weight of someone sitting gently at the edge of their bed, as though an unseen presence was keeping them company in the dark. The parlor and dining areas have their own legends. Staff members have reported seeing a woman dressed in 19th century clothing standing by the fireplace, her figure reflected in the glass of nearby windows. One worker recalls catching a glimpse of her in the corner of the room, only to turn around and find no one there. Guests seated for breakfast have sometimes felt a sudden chill sweep through the room, strong enough to raise goosebumps, while others noticed flickering lamps and shifting shadows where none should be. The National House Inn has welcomed travelers for nearly 200 years, but for some, it seems the stay never ended. Whether they are former guests, workers, or townsfolk tied to its long history, the spirits of this inn linger in silence. Many visitors leave with a strange sense that they were never alone, even when the hallway seems still. If you spend the night here, do not be surprised if you wake to the sound of footsteps in the hallway, a door softly creaking open, or the whisper of a woman's voice when no one is there. The National House Inn is more than just Michigan's oldest inn. It is a place where history and hauntings live side by side. Number 6. Historic Holly Hotel Holly. The historic Holly Hotel is often called the crown jewel of haunted places in Michigan. Built in 1891, it has stood proudly in the heart of Holly, serving as a hotel, restaurant, and gathering place for over a century. But this beautiful Victorian building carries more than fine dining and history. It is also one of the most famously haunted sites in the entire state, with stories of spirits that refuse to leave. The most common reports begin with a strong scent of cigar smoke. Guests and staff alike have walked into empty rooms or hallways only to be hit with the unmistakable smell, lingering thick in the air as if someone had just taken a long drag. Many believe this comes from the spirit of Mr. Hurst, the hotel's former owner, who was known for his constant smoking. His presence is said to make itself known most often in the late evenings, when the building grows quiet. Another well-known phenomenon at the Holly Hotel is laughter. Guests dining in the restaurant have suddenly heard laughter drift through the air, echoing as if from a crowded gathering. But when they look around, there is no source for the sound. Staff members working after hours say they have heard a woman's giggle coming from the parlor, followed by the faint rustle of a dress moving across the floorboards. Some even claim to have seen the apparition of a young woman standing at the end of a hallway, watching silently before vanishing into the shadows. Perhaps the most unique stories involve ghostly pets. Visitors have reported feeling a small dog brush against their legs while dining or walking through the hotel. Others claim to have heard the faint sound of a dog's paws clicking across the floor or even the gentle whine of a dog wanting attention. Yet when they bend down to look, no animal is there. The Holly Hotel once had a beloved family dog, and many believe this loyal companion never left, still roaming the halls alongside the spirits of former guests and owners. There are also chilling reports of voices whispering in the basement, objects moving on their own, and sudden cold drafts sweeping through the stairways. Many paranormal investigators have come here, and almost all of them leave with stories they cannot explain. The historic Holly Hotel is not just a restaurant or a landmark. It is a place where history has soaked into the walls and refuses to let go. Visitors arrive for the food and the atmosphere, but many leave talking about an encounter they never expected. The cigar smoke that appears without warning, the laughter of unseen figures, the brush of a ghostly pet across their legs. All reminders that this hotel is more than historic. It is alive with the spirits of its past. Number 7. Doherty Hotel Clare. The Doherty Hotel in Clare has a reputation unlike any other in Michigan. Built in 1924, this grand building stood at the center of town life, offering lodging, fine dining, and a meeting spot for locals and travelers. But beneath its polished image, the hotel carried a darker role during the Prohibition and mob era. It was more than a resting place. It became a hangout for gangsters, politicians, and even rum runners who carved their names into Michigan's history of crime and violence. That legacy seems to have stayed behind, leaving behind restless spirits that still wander the halls. One of the most notorious stories tied to the Doherty Hotel is the violent murder of Isaiah Leibov, a mob-connected attorney. In 1938, he was shot and killed in the hotel's taproom during a heated argument. Witnesses watched the event unfold, and the shock of such an open killing left a deep mark on the building. To this day, guests claim to see the apparition of a well-dressed man in the taproom, sitting at the bar or pacing back and forth. Some say it is Leibov himself, forever bound to the place where his life ended so suddenly. Staff members often talk about unexplained cold spots in certain hallways, sudden drops in temperature that seem to follow them as they move. There are also reports of heavy footsteps on the upper floors, long after the hotel has quieted down for the night. Many have heard voices echoing in empty rooms, faint arguments as if from a meeting that happened decades ago. Doors have been known to open on their own, and shadows are said to dart across walls, disappearing when approached. Guests have also reported an unsettling feeling of being watched while eating in the dining room or walking through the lobby. Some describe catching a glimpse of a man out of the corner of their eye, only to turn and find no one there. Others have felt a sudden pressure on their chest or a wave of unease that forces them to leave the area. The connection to its violent past seems alive and well, as though the hotel itself holds onto the energy of every crime, every heated deal, every act of betrayal that once played out within its walls. The Doherty Hotel is still a thriving part of Clare, welcoming guests with open doors and a sense of small-town pride. Yet those who know its history say it is impossible to walk through without feeling the weight of its past. The mob meetings, the corruption, and the bloodshed never left. And as the lights dim in the evening, many believe the spirits of that dangerous era still rise to make their presence known. Number 8. Henderson Castle, Kalamazoo. Perched high on a hill in Kalamazoo, the Henderson Castle looks like something out of a fairy tale. Built in 1895 by wealthy businessman Frank Henderson, this Victorian-style mansion was meant to be a lasting symbol of success and elegance. Today it operates as a boutique inn, offering fine dining, spa treatments, and breathtaking views of the city. But beneath its beauty and historic charm, the castle carries a reputation that draws in more than just curious guests. It attracts ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, and thrill seekers who want to encounter the spirits said to roam its halls. Visitors often report hearing unexplained footsteps echoing across the wooden floors when no one is there. Doors open and close on their own, as though someone unseen is walking the same paths they once knew in life. Guests staying overnight tell of whispers in the dead of night, strange noises coming from empty rooms, and the unmistakable feeling of being followed as they walk the long corridors. Many believe that Frank Henderson himself still lingers in the castle he poured his fortune into. His apparition has been spotted near the grand staircase, sometimes appearing in period clothing. Some have even reported smelling cigar smoke drifting through the rooms, though smoking is not allowed. Others claim to see the figure of a woman dressed in white wandering the halls, thought to be one of Henderson's family members who never left the home behind. The castle's history as both a private residence and later as a public inn adds layers to its haunting. Over the decades, countless guests have stayed within its walls, each leaving behind their own stories and energy. Paranormal investigators say the building seems alive with activity. Electronic devices malfunction, batteries drain without warning, and voices are often captured on recordings, answering questions that no living person spoke. For some, Henderson Castle is a luxurious escape into Michigan's past. For others, it is a place where the past refuses to rest. Every creak of the old floors, every unexplained shadow, every sudden chill in the air makes it clear, this castle is more than a historic landmark. It is a place where history lingers, and the spirits of those who once called it home may still be keeping watch. Number 9. Myers Hotel, Mackinac City. Mackinac City is known for its charm, its ferry rides to Mackinac Island, and its breathtaking views of the Straits of Mackinac. But tucked among its many historic stops is Myers Hotel, a place that has quietly built a reputation for more than comfortable lodging. Guests who book a stay here often come looking for rest, yet some leave with stories they cannot explain. Myers Hotel has become known for strange activity that leaves even seasoned travelers unsettled. Cold spots appear without warning, chilling guests to the bone in otherwise warm and cozy rooms. Some report that the temperature drops suddenly, as if someone unseen has walked into the space and lingers nearby. These moments are often followed by whispers in the air, soft disembodied voices that come from empty corners of the room. Guests describe the sound as if someone is speaking right behind them, but when they turn there is no one there. Others have spoken of hearing faint footsteps in the hallways during the late-night hours. The kind of footsteps that echo steadily, only to fade into silence as though the unseen walker slipped back into the walls themselves. Staff members, familiar with the building's quirks, admit they too have had odd encounters over the years. Doors sometimes close on their own, items shift slightly out of place, and an eerie sense of being watched creeps in during the quietest hours. Some locals believe the whispers and footsteps may belong to past travelers who never truly left. Mackinac City has always been a busy stop for those moving through Michigan's northern tip, and Myers Hotel has seen its share of people come and go since its early days. With such a long history, it isn't surprising that a few souls may still walk the halls. For many visitors, Myers Hotel is a quaint place to stay before a day of sightseeing. For others, it becomes a night they never forget. Every whisper, every unexplained chill, every echo in the dark hallway adds to the legend that Myers Hotel is not only part of Mackinac City's history, but also part of its haunted past. Number 10, Park Place Hotel, Traverse City. Traverse City's Park Place Hotel is one of the most recognizable landmarks in northern Michigan. Its tall tower rises above the city, overlooking the bay and the busy streets below. Guests flock here for its history, its luxury, and its reputation as a centerpiece of downtown. Yet many who have stayed inside these walls speak of experiences that go far beyond the ordinary. The tower is at the heart of the stories. Late at night, mysterious lights are seen flickering in the upper windows, even when the rooms are said to be empty. Some describe the glow as a lantern-like shimmer, others as faint movement of light that seems to pace back and forth, as though someone is walking in the tower holding a candle. Hotel staff, used to questions from curious guests, have admitted that there are times when they too notice the unexplained glow. Electrical faults are often ruled out. The lights appear and vanish with no cause, leaving those who see them shaken. But the most chilling accounts are of the spectral woman said to linger in the tower. She has been described as elegant, dressed in attire from a different era, her form faint yet unmistakable. Guests who have encountered her say she appears briefly, often standing silently near windows or drifting through the hallways of the upper floors, only to vanish without a sound. Some believe she may be a former guest who suffered tragedy within the hotel, while others claim she is tied to the tower itself, forever bound to the view overlooking Traverse City. Whispers among locals suggest that the tower carries a heavy energy, and guests sensitive to the paranormal often report a deep sense of unease when climbing the stairwell or riding the elevator toward its upper levels. Shadows seem to move in the corners of vision, and unexplained chills pass through hallways even in the warmest months of summer. Number 11, The Inn on Ferry Street, Detroit. Tucked away in Detroit's Cultural Center Historic District is the Inn on Ferry Street, a collection of beautifully preserved Victorian homes turned into a boutique hotel. By day, the inn feels warm and inviting, its ornate woodwork, stained glass, and antique furnishings carrying guests back to the elegance of the 19th century. But when the sun sets and the hallways grow quiet, a different reputation takes over. Guests and staff alike say these Victorian homes are alive with the presence of their former residents. Each of the historic mansions has its own character, and with that character comes a share of ghost stories. Visitors have reported hearing footsteps on creaking staircases when no one is there, the sound of heavy boots pacing the floors late at night. Doors open and close without reason, and some guests describe feeling as if someone unseen is brushing past them in the narrow hallways. Cold drafts drift through locked rooms, and whispers seem to echo in places where no voices should be. The most unsettling stories come from those who have stayed in certain bedrooms where shadows appear to shift along the walls. Guests describe waking in the night to the sensation of being watched, only to find no one there. Others speak of figures in Victorian clothing glimpsed for only a moment before vanishing, as though the former owners of the houses are still making their rounds, refusing to give up their homes to time or modern visitors. Staff members, many of whom know the stories well, admit that strange things happen often. Lights flicker despite updated wiring, radios and televisions turn on by themselves, and in some cases, objects seem to move from where they were left. Longtime workers say they've grown used to the odd activity, treating it as part of the inn's charm. Guests who come seeking the paranormal often leave convinced they've had an encounter. The Inn on Ferry Street offers history, luxury, and comfort, but it also carries the weight of the lives once lived inside its walls. Each house has a story, and for those who stay overnight, the past sometimes makes itself known in the most chilling ways. Number 12, Old Mission Inn, Traverse City. Standing proudly on the Old Mission Peninsula since the mid-1800s, the Old Mission Inn is more than just one of Michigan's oldest continually operating hotels. It's a living museum of pioneer history, filled with antiques, portraits, and original architecture that remind visitors of a much earlier time. But behind the historic charm lies a reputation that draws ghost hunters and curious travelers from across the state. The inn is said to be one of the most haunted places in northern Michigan, where the spirits of the past seem unwilling to leave. Guests often report seeing shadow figures drifting silently through the hallways. Some appear in the corners of rooms, lingering just long enough to be noticed before dissolving into nothing. Others are seen moving across doorways as if pacing or keeping watch over the inn. The staff has heard countless accounts of these apparitions, and many will tell you they've seen them with their own eyes. Objects are also known to shift without explanation. A chair may scrape across the floor when no one is near it. Small items vanish from tables only to reappear later in strange places. Guests have left belongings in one spot and returned to find them moved. In the dining room, silverware and glasses have been known to rattle as though someone invisible has brushed against the table. Some visitors speak of sudden, unexplained cold spots, even on warm summer nights. Others describe waking in the middle of the night to hear footsteps pacing just outside their door, but when they gather the courage to look, the hallway is completely empty. The unease is heightened by the inn's decor, which includes antique mirrors and portraits that seem to follow you with their eyes. Despite its eerie reputation, the innkeepers embrace the stories, treating the paranormal activity as part of the Old Mission Inn's identity. Many guests return year after year, drawn not only by the history and beauty of the inn but also by the chance to experience something beyond the ordinary. Number 13. Kalamazoo House Bed and Breakfast, Kalamazoo. The Kalamazoo House Bed and Breakfast has been welcoming guests since the 1800s, offering comfort, charm, and a touch of Victorian elegance. But many who stay here will tell you there is something unsettling about the place, a sense that the inn has more than history lingering in its rooms. Guests often leave with stories that have nothing to do with fine breakfasts or friendly hosts, but with restless spirits that seem to share the house. One of the most common reports is the feeling of being watched while asleep. Visitors describe waking suddenly in the middle of the night with the strong impression that someone is standing near their bed. Some say they've seen a shadowy figure at the foot of the bed or in the corner of the room, silent and unmoving as though keeping guard. By the time they sit up and turn on a light, the figure is gone, leaving only a deep unease behind. Others speak of hearing footsteps in the hallway during the night. The sound is heavy and deliberate, pacing back and forth, yet when guests check the hallway there is no one there. Doors creak as though being nudged open, and some visitors swear they've heard faint whispers drifting through their rooms. The whispers are never clear enough to understand, but distinct enough to chill the blood. One particularly unsettling story involves guests waking to find their blankets slowly sliding off the bed on their own. At first, many think it is their imagination or a dream, but when they tug the covers back up, they feel a firm pull in the opposite direction, as if unseen hands are at work. The inn's history may provide a clue to these strange happenings. The house has seen generations of families, sickness, and even death within its walls. It is believed that some of those spirits never left, choosing instead to stay in the place they once called home. Number 14. Garden Island Hotel Ruins, near Beaver Island. Tucked away on the remote shores near Beaver Island, The Garden Island Hotel once stood as a grand retreat for travelers seeking the quiet beauty of Michigan's north. Today, all that remains are crumbling walls and the echoes of a past that refuses to die. Visitors to the ruins often speak of a heavy, almost tangible sense of sorrow that hangs in the air, a weight that presses on the chest and makes the hair stand on end. Locals tell stories of ghostly figures wandering the decayed hallways, long after the hotel closed its doors. Some say they have seen a lady in period dress pacing the main floor, her face pale and eyes hollow, vanishing when approached. Others report hearing the clatter of dishes, the faint ringing of bells, and the muffled laughter of guests who have long since left the world of the living. The island itself seems to hold a memory of tragedy. Storms often sweep in suddenly as though conjured by the restless spirits, making the ruins feel even more isolated and vulnerable. On foggy nights, strange silhouettes are said to appear among the foundations, disappearing into the mist before anyone can get a clear look. Visitors have also reported hearing whispers calling out names, soft yet unmistakable, and cold drafts that move in ways the wind cannot explain. Some claim to feel a presence standing just behind them, even when alone, as if the hotel itself watches anyone who dares to explore its remains. Though abandoned for decades, the Garden Island Hotel continues to haunt the imaginations of those who hear its stories. Its ruins are a stark reminder that even in desolation, spirits linger, tethered to the memories of life and loss that once filled its halls. Number 15. Baldwin Hotel, Baldwin. In the small logging town of Baldwin, the Baldwin Hotel has stood for over a century, its walls steeped in the sweat, toil, and tragedies of generations past. Once a bustling stop for lumbermen and travelers, today it is whispered to be alive with the echoes of those who never truly left. Guests who stay here speak of hearing footsteps pacing empty hallways, doors opening and closing on their own, and whispers that rise and fall with no one in sight. The hotel carries a reputation for strange occurrences that seem tied to its logging town past. Some have reported seeing shadowy figures moving through the old lobby, glimpsing fleeting faces in mirrors that vanish when looked at directly. Others have felt icy touches on the back of their necks or sudden chills in rooms that were warm moments before. Locals warn that the Baldwin Hotel is a place where the line between past and present blurs. Ghostly laughter echoes down the corridors late at night, and rooms that appear empty somehow feel occupied by unseen presences. Many say the spirits are restless, tied to the struggles, accidents, and lives of the lumbermen who once frequented the town. Even in daylight, visitors sense an unsettling presence, a feeling that the hotel remembers every story of hardship, every whispered secret, and every life that passed through its doors. Staying here is not just about lodging, it's about stepping into a living memory, where the past walks beside you, reminding all who enter that some spirits never leave. With Baldwin Hotel, our tour of Michigan's most haunted hotels comes to a close. These hotels are more than places to sleep, they are gateways to the past, where the living brush against the restless spirits of those who came before. Every hallway, every creaking floorboard, every flicker of light holds a story, a warning, a presence that refuses to be ignored. From Mackinac Island to Baldwin, the ghosts linger and the legends live on. Have you ever felt a chill for no reason or heard a voice when no one was there? Could you spend a night in one of these haunted halls, knowing the spirits are watching, listening, and moving around you? Share your experiences in the comments, tell us which hotel would scare you the most, and don't forget to like and subscribe to uncover more of Michigan's chilling paranormal history.